At the beginning of the story, we meet a girl named Sawyer, a senior student at College. While out running, she receives a call from someone informing her that she has been invited for a job interview in Washington, D.C. Hearing this, Sawyer is overjoyed. Thanksgiving is also approaching soon. Thanksgiving, a festival celebrated in the US and Canada, is a time when people express gratitude to God and enjoy meals with family and friends. However, Sawyer feels embarrassed about not having a job, which is why she decides to leave for Washington, D.C. without informing her family. Due to heavy Thanksgiving traffic on the main roads, she uses GPS to navigate an alternate route. After driving for a long distance, she finds the road ahead blocked. Frustrated, she checks her phone again but sees no alternative routes. She takes a U-turn and tries another path, but it is also closed. Angry, she throws her phone onto the passenger seat. While searching for another way using a paper map she finds in the car, Sawyer steps out and tries to locate the right route. Meanwhile, we see two men nearby burying something. They notice Sawyer and suspect she has seen them. The men approach her in their car. One introduces himself as Buck, and the other is named Hollister. Hollister tells Sawyer that she looks lost and offers to help, but only if she comes home with them to party. When Sawyer refuses, Hollister becomes aggressive. A confrontation ensues, and Sawyer defends herself by stabbing Hollister. Though she also gets injured in the fight, she manages to escape into the forest. The two brothers chase her, but eventually lose track of her. Sawyer hides behind a rock and uses her shirt to stop her bleeding. After searching for her for some time, the brothers give up and return home before nightfall. Injured and disoriented, Sawyer wanders through the forest until she reaches a riverbank. She drinks some water and feels momentary relief, but cannot find a way out. She spends the night in a pit for safety. The next morning, a concerned woman calls the local police station to report a missing car. Officer Odile arrives at the scene and discovers bloodstains on the road. He visits Buck and Hollister's house to investigate. Seeing that both brothers are injured, the officer asks about the injuries. They lie, claiming they were in an accident, and deny knowing anything about the missing car. The sheriff leaves, suspicious but without evidence. Once the officer is gone, the brothers drive to where Sawyer's car was parked and push it down a hill to destroy any evidence. They assume Sawyer must have succumbed to her injuries in the forest and begin searching for her body. Meanwhile, Sawyer finds the wreckage of her car by the river. She searches it and retrieves her phone, which still works. She notices multiple missed calls from her mom but cannot call back due to a lack of network. She moves to different areas trying to find a signal, but the phone's battery eventually dies. As the brothers continue searching the forest, they find a blood-stained piece of cloth belonging to Sawyer, realizing she is still alive. They intensify their search. Struggling with hunger, thirst, and blood loss, Sawyer eventually collapses near a dumping ground in the forest. The next morning, she wakes up on a bed with her leg bandaged. Before she can fully understand her situation, a man holding a gun enters. Terrified, Sawyer panics. The man, however, assures her that he means no harm. He introduces himself as Lowell and explains that he found her unconscious in the forest and brought her here to help. Despite his reassurances, Sawyer throws lye at his face while trying to escape, prompting Lowell to tie her up for his safety. He provides her with food and water, explaining that she had lost a lot of blood and needs to recover. Sawyer shares her story, telling him how two men tried to kill her, forcing her to flee into the forest. While they are talking, Lowell notices a car approaching the trailer. Hearing the noise, Sawyer starts shouting for help, but Lowell quickly silences her. He warns her that if she makes a sound, the men in the car will kill her. Lowell steps outside, and it's revealed that the visitors are none other than Buck and Hollister, the brothers searching for Sawyer. It turns out they're Lowell's cousins, and Lowell is a meth cook who makes drugs for them. The brothers ask Lowell if he has seen a girl in the area. Lowell lies, claiming he hasn't seen anyone. Meanwhile, Sawyer looks out of the window and realizes that these men are not searching for her to rescue her. They want her dead. Sawyer decides to burn the ropes restraining her by applying chemicals to them. When Buck and Hollister come to search the trailer, they find no sign of her. Lowell manages to hide any evidence of her presence. After the brothers leave, Lowell finds Sawyer and warns her that if she doesn't listen to him next time, the consequences won't be good. Meanwhile, at the sheriff's office, Officer Odile dismisses the report of the missing vehicle. His junior officer, Nick, is dissatisfied with this and contacts the state police to escalate the investigation. Nick's phone gets switched off, prompting the state police to take over the case and begin their search for Sawyer. Odile, clearly unhappy with this development, expresses his frustration to Buck and Hollister. He tells them that if the state police find Sawyer, alive or dead, their secrets will be exposed. It's revealed that Odiel is a corrupt officer involved in the brothers' drug business, which is why he's desperate to cover up the crime. Back at the trailer, Sawyer and Lowell are talking, and their relationship becomes friendlier. Sawyer expresses her desire to leave the area. Lowell explains that the main highway is about 10 kilometers away, but it's too dangerous to go on foot as the brothers will kill her if they find her. He promises to help her escape when Buck and Hollister leave for a few days. Sawyer reluctantly agrees to his plan. The next morning, Lowell shows Sawyer a thermos containing ammonia and explains that just one spark could blow up the entire trailer. He reveals that he, too, wants to escape from this life after finishing his work. Although Sawyer starts to trust him a bit, she still keeps a small knife hidden, just in case. Lowell advises Sawyer to hide outside when the brothers arrive with drug-making materials. When Buck and Hollister show up, Lowell cunningly releases gas inside the trailer, forcing them to leave quickly after dropping off the supplies. Meanwhile, Nick is at the police station, still searching for Sawyer. His senior officer advises him to go home and celebrate Thanksgiving with his wife, offering to handle the case. However, as Nick steps out, he remembers he left something inside and returns. To his shock, Nick overhears Odiel talking on the phone, demanding that Sawyer be found, dead or alive. Realizing Odiel's involvement with the kidnappers, Nick pulls a gun on him and demands answers. However, Odiel takes advantage of a distraction, shoots Nick, and kills him on the spot. Odiel disposes of Nick's body by taking it to Buck and Hollister, ensuring no evidence is left behind. He tells them they need to devise a new plan to keep the state police away. Buck suggests using Sawyer's wallet, which they still have, to frame someone else. The next day, State Police Officer Douglas arrives at the station and asks about Nick's whereabouts. Odiel claims Nick has been missing since the previous afternoon and hasn't returned home, despite his wife's repeated calls. To buy time, Odiel deliberately checks Nick's locker, where Sawyer's wallet is planted. This leads Douglas to suspect Nick was involved with the kidnappers, giving Odiel more time to act. Odiel then goes to the trailer to confront Lowell. Sensing danger, Lowell hides Sawyer inside the trailer and arms himself with a gun. When Odiel arrives, Lowell threatens to shoot if he takes another step. This forces Odiel to retreat, but he grows suspicious of Lowell and tells Buck and Hollister to search the trailer again. Meanwhile, Lowell and Sawyer head to the river to dispose of chemical waste. As they're gone, Buck and Hollister arrive at the trailer and notice footprints, realizing that Sawyer is still there. When Lowell and Sawyer return, the brothers ambush them. Buck points a gun at Lowell and demands he hand over Sawyer. Lowell tries to stall by engaging them in conversation, claiming he has trained Sawyer to follow his instructions. He asks Sawyer to make coffee for everyone, using this as an opportunity to set a trap. Sawyer secretly places hydrous ammonia in a coffee cup and puts it in the microwave. Moments later, a massive explosion occurs, killing Buck and severely injuring Hollister, Lowell, and Sawyer. As Sawyer tries to escape, Hollister emerges with a gun. Lowell urges her to run, saying he cannot accompany her. Sawyer flees into the forest as Hollister prepares to shoot her, but Lowell intervenes, leading to a fight between him and Hollister. At this moment, the corrupt sheriff arrives and shoots Lowell from behind, killing him. Buck had earlier claimed that Lowell was hiding something, but the sheriff doesn't spare Buck either. He shoots Buck to ensure his secrets remain safe. Meanwhile, Sawyer keeps running through the dense forest, determined to save her life. She finally breaks out of the woods, still alive but deeply shaken by her ordeal. Somehow, Sawyer makes her way to a road, where a police car stops beside her. To her shock, it's Odiel, the corrupt sheriff. Pretending to help, he offers her a ride, but during their conversation, Sawyer realizes he is also involved with Buck and Hollister. Odiel drives her to a river under the pretense of aiding her, but then tries to kill her by drowning. However, Sawyer fights back, using the knife she had hidden earlier. In a desperate struggle, she stabs Odiel, killing him. Exhausted but determined, Sawyer climbs out of the river and begins walking along the road, searching for her way back home. As she trudges forward, numerous police cars approach from behind. These are the state police officers who had been tirelessly searching for her. Finally, Sawyer is found and rescued by the authorities. The movie concludes with her ordeal coming to an end and her survival against all odds. So that's it. Hope you enjoy the story. Subscribe and press the bell icon for more videos.